first some coffee. Well, I live in the middle of the center of a city, of a big city, you know, and it's always busy, always a lot of things going on. And well, so I got some questions. This is where I work, by the way. I like to work here, I like to sit here, I like it, you know, with my plants and my bonsai tree. But I got a question about my man cave. Well, it's not really a man cave, it's also a women's cave, because also my wife likes to be here very much. Well, let's enter the room and let me explain a little bit about the room. Sorry, we're closed. So, this is my room. So I live in the center of the city, and in the middle of my house there's a room without a window. I don't have a window here. So that's the first thing what is very important, that the temperature and the moist of this room is quite stable, and that's the first thing what is very important. If you look at the humidity, I'm just around 50%, and the temperature is about 22 degrees. And that's actually for wooden objects and things like Chris with metal, very important, you know, that you've got a constant temperature so you know what is going on with the metal and with the wood. If it drops too low, then you've got a problem with the sheet. Sometimes the Chris don't get out of the sheet. And also here you can see it's very important, you know, that's perfect. 22 degrees and humidity of 51%. So, you know, it's not only a room of meditation, that's not true. And of course, if I sit down here, I meditate, and that's how I like to start my day. When I wake up, I love to meditate and think about myself. And that's maybe the most important thing of this room. That I sit over here and I think about things. I get ideas, I get plans that I want to make. I read books over here or internet, study some things. And of course, if you talk about the Chris, you also talk about your ancestors. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a collector. Most of the things over here I did not buy. I think only 4 or 5 objects I bought. The rest of the objects are given to me as a pusaka, as a heirloom. And I really like to keep the tradition of the heirlooms alive. That's the thing, you know, I'm more about keeping the tradition alive than trying to collect Chris or things like that. And well, sometimes you hear people talk about the spirit of the Chris, and it's not really a spirit, you know, it's you talk with the energy that is here, and you want to get on with your life, and you talk with your ancestors. Okay, that's true, but it's not the spirit like, you know, like in Ghostbusters or whatever. No, it's more the general energy that you're talking with, and there's only one energy. You can call it Allah, you can call it Yahweh or Shiva or whatever. You know, here on this little earth, we've got different names given and different traditions to talk with the general energy. But in real life, you know, there is just one energy. Tomorrow it's getting light at 7 o'clock, and the day after again at 7 o'clock, and the day after again, when there were 2 energies, then it would be light at 6 o'clock, and the other one is pulling on the energy, and then it's getting light at 9 o'clock. There's only one energy, and I like to talk with the energy on the Indonesian way and use the Kris Pusaka, for that. But most of the time, I just like to sit here, drink my coffee, being around here, thinking about things when I've got some plans. And like my family has also been in New Guinea. Some of my uncles were officers of the police over there. You can see a tifa and some arrows. So a lot of the traditions from Indonesia also go back to animism. And then you've got, of course, the Kris and the objects coming from the Javanese Hindu Buddhism. The Hindu Buddhism of Indonesia came from Indonesia. It's made over there. It's a fusion between Buddhism and Tantric Shaivism. And that's the belief of Indonesia. That's so specific for Indonesia. It's not the Buddhism from China. It's not the Hinduism of India. It's their own story. And I like to study it, I'm 60 years old, but you will never stop to study. So you've got some instruments over here, like the Indonesian style of making music, slendro or pelok, the 5 tones in one. Let me show you. Pentatonic system. Then you've got the trumpet, and of course you see Hanuman over there, Hanuman from the Ramayana, and there you've got Gatotkaca from the Mahabharata, and the original temple bell from a Buddhist temple in Bandung, and a lot of objects I got, and I try to keep them in a good shape. And that's it. If you want to have your Kris to be in a very good shape, then it's actually not that difficult. Spend a lot of time with your Kris and it will look like this. And I've been in a monastery, a Buddhist monastery last summer, and also they've got a very strict rhythm in maintaining all the objects, and because of their love of the objects, they look very good. And for me it's the same. Let me tell you a little bit about this little deer over there. That's the kanchil. The kanchil is very important for me because my father always told the stories about the kanchil, about running against a haze, about being confronted with a macan, with a tiger, etc. And the kanchil is typical Indonesian. It gives you the stories of good and bad, and it makes you build up your conscience, your consciousness about life. And and of course I've got a little space over there where I meditate and do my things, but most of the time I'm not being here to meditate. And this might be also quite interesting. You see a snake here, big snake. Snake skin are believed to have special powers to ward off negative energy. And I also got an old snake over here. And of course, Shiva has a snake around his neck, but also Bhima has a snake around his neck. Shiva, the Batara Guru, the big god, and it doesn't matter how you call it. That's my way of expressing for the Holy Spirit. But snakes are always good to ward off negative energy. And of course, here are all the Kris that I got, that I received, and maybe also interesting over here. This is where it started with my grandfather, Raden Mas Secho Darijo. He was a son of the Raja of Sumeneb, and here you've got a picture of the Raja of Sumeneb. And this is the Sultan, the Emperor of Yogyakarta, and his daughter is my grandmother, Raden Ayu Siti Sutari, and both of them, they got married. And there you've got Raden Ayu Augustine Sejodirijo. Here she was young, about 20 years old, and here she was older, with again in the middle Machan or Raden Ayu Siti Sutari. You can see the same person, with my grandfather standing right behind her. And of course, most of the kris I have are, or let's say Yogyakarta or Sumeneb, because my grandfather, and you can see his headdress, the udeng, typical Madris, and also his name, Sejodirijo, coming from the palace of Sumeneb. Some objects over here. Well, this is a little bit what my room looks like. And a clock in the middle. Oh yeah, that's Indonesian time because it's in the morning over here. And you know, we live in Holland, but we are so very much attached to Indonesia, and it sounds strange. We had to leave Indonesia on a certain time, and you know, we wanted to stay. We wanted to be part of the Indonesian culture, but okay, that's time, you know, it's no problem. So we are living here with 2 million people coming from Indonesia. And my wife, she's also from Aceh. Aceh, her grandfather is from Aceh. She looks very white and bleached, you know, bule. But her grandfather is from Aceh, and she also has some roots in Indonesia, and that's the bond that we have. So that's my little man cave over here. And now I'm going to drink my coffee.